Shavkat Rakhmonov is unlike any fighter I've ever seen before. When Shavkat fights, he makes a very simple agreement with whoever he's fighting. And this agreement is, I'm going to stand right in front of you, and I'm going to hit you many, many, many times. And you're going to hit me as well. But I am going to win the fight. Now, typically when a fighter does this, they're pretty 50-50. But Shavkat is not 50-50. He is 17-0 with a 100% finish rate. To me, the thing so terrifying about this guy is he just looks prehistoric. He looks like he spent his childhood hunting woolly mammoth. And frankly, that is not someone I'm trying to get locked into a cage with. And this isn't even bringing up his skills yet. Offensively, this guy is an absolute nightmare. For one, he has an insane variety of strikes and attacks that he can use. And two, the size of this guy for welterweight. 6'1", 77-inch reach, just a massive guy. But the thing that really sets him apart is just how girthy his head is. And you heard that right, girthy. His head looks like it belongs on Brock Lesnar. But enough about this man's stunning looks. I don't even know why you brought it up in the first place.
Shavkat Rakhmonov. That man gives me chills.
Let's talk about his skills. Even though he towers over most of his opponents, he does not try to keep the fight at range. He constantly moves forward, walking right at you. He wants to be in the pocket, standing in front of you. And this is because he is ridiculously accurate. You really don't know what he's going to do. He'll throw spinning back kicks, spinning wheel kicks. He's got a really good body and head kick. And he's just constantly throwing power punches. And he lands a ridiculous amount of them. If it wasn't already bad enough, on top of lighting you up in punching range, he's also constantly looking to clinch. He comes from a combat sambo background, so he's really strong with a body lock. He'll look for uchimadas and trips to get you to the ground. And at the same time, constantly spamming knees to the body, which just shreds your gas tank. He doesn't have super high level submissions, but they're really solid. He does have a really good guillotine. Primarily, his submissions open up when he really breaks his opponents down, gasses them out by attacking the body, or with really good positional grappling, and then taking whatever submission is left open because he frankly broke his opponent. And this is typically the case for most combat sambo athletes we've seen in MMA. This guy is just the utter definition of dangerous. That's why he's 17-0, 100% finish rate. Nobody wants to fight this guy, and I don't blame anybody for that. But this does actually leave us with a couple interesting questions. One, why did Wonderboy take this fight? And two, is karate even gonna work on this guy? Well, as far as why Thompson took the fight, I think there's two pretty clear reasons why. One, Wonderboy kind of fell out of the UFC's good graces after he refused to fight Pereira after he missed weight and then made a big deal about him not getting paid for it, which I completely understand Wonderboy turning down the fight, but him being upset that he didn't get paid, that's kind of stupid. But I'm sure the UFC was struggling to find someone to book against Shavkat, so they told Wonderboy, if you take this fight against this absolute killer, we'll love you again, and you can get a title shot if you win. That's reason number one. But reason number two, I think Wonderboy sees some holes in Shavkat's defense. I'm going to tell you this right now, mark it in stone. Wonderboy's lunging right hand, the one that he kept hitting on Kevin Holland over and over and over again, that is going to be all day against Rakhmonov. You see, Shavkat relies on his chin a lot, and this is really highlighted when he fought Jeff Neal. See, Jeff Neal, his primary strength in MMA is he is a really good boxer in the pocket. So, in theory, being a fighter like Shavkat, who's really big, really tall for the weight class, and has really good kicks, you'd think he would try to stay on the outside and just light him up in a range that Neal couldn't hit him. That is not what Shavkat chose to do. He stood right in front of Neal, right in punching range, and yeah, he won every round. He lit Neal up, but he played into Neal's strengths, and he got tagged a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't that he was reckless. He's actually really calculated in the pocket. He moves in, looks to land shots, and then he tries to disengage, but he doesn't pull out all the way. He takes just a step or two back, then cuts an angle, then he's right back in the pocket again. But in the third round, Neal hurt him bad. Things were not looking good for Rakhmonov until he then in return rocked Neal with a straight right and then choked him out. Point is, Rakhmonov is hittable, and he's fighting a guy in Wonderboy who is really hard to hit. If this fight was taking place in the middle of a football field, I'm betting the house on Wonderboy. The entire fight would be Rakhmonov trying to close the distance, just constantly marching forward, and Thompson would just be constantly out of range, constantly circling, occasionally lunging in for a few punches, then being out of range again. He'd be unbeatable. When he's at distance, it is absolutely insane to watch him use his front leg sidekick. He snaps it like a teep, and he's so fast with it, he'll catch you in between combinations trying to move in. And it's the perfect tool against someone like Shavkat who stands square and is just constantly trying to walk forward. The big, giant issue is the venue the UFC chooses to have these fights, it's surrounded by a fence. And guys like Gilbert Burns, Amir Muhammad, they showed that when you back Wonderboy up against the fence, he has to square himself out. And then he's way more susceptible to getting hit, and then a lot more clinch and takedown opportunities open up because of that as well. You see, the thing about Wonderboy is he doesn't have one-punch knockout power. Yeah, if he lands a kick flush, you're going to be hurt really bad. But even then, against Kevin Holland, he landed a few kicks really cleanly, and he couldn't put Holland away. What he relies on is controlling distance and landing an accumulative amount of strikes. Now, I'm positive he's going to be able to land on Shavkat. The issue is, the bigger your head is, the more punishment you can take. That's a 100% true fact I just made up. So sure, Thompson's going to land, but controlling the distance is going to be tough with someone marching forward, throwing power punches and threatening with kicks. He's going to be able to back Wonderboy up against the fence. And if he's able to consistently get into a clinch exchange with him, I think Shavkat's going to maul him. Now, to give Wonderboy some credit though, he is very aware that he does not want to be fighting in close. So whenever an opponent would close the distance with him, he immediately tries scrambling to circle back to the center. Though it's during times like this when he's open to getting hit. And with how accurate Shavkat is, he's gonna land in exchanges like this. And Wonderboy, remember, he traded all of his durability stats for elusiveness stats. If Shavkat lands once, he's going to rock him. But Shavkat does not land just once. If he's in the pocket, he's landing a lot of strikes. It's not up for debate. Stephen Thompson is the far better technical kickboxer in this matchup. But in every other facet of MMA, Shavkat's got a huge advantage.